The ship was old. Everyone who looked at it could see that. Its hull was covered with scars from battles that most people had forgotten, burn marks from plasma weapons, deep cuts from enemy boarding parties, patches of alien metal welded over holes that should have killed everyone inside. The UES Prometheus Unbroken was not a beautiful ship, but it was still alive, and that was more than anyone expected. Commander stood on the bridge and watched the stars through the cracked viewport. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes. Her uniform was old like the ship. It had been repaired many times, just like her. The distress signal had been playing for 6 hours now. It came from New Harbin, a human colony world at the edge of known space. 14 million people lived there. Farmers, factory workers, children, old people, regular humans trying to build a life far from Earth. Now the swarm was coming for them. Had seen what they did to worlds. She had watched them consume her home planet 30 years ago. They were not like other enemies. They did not want land or resources or power. They wanted to feed. Their ships moved like insects, thousands of them working together as one mind. When they finished with a world, nothing remained. Not buildings, not trees, not bones. "Commander," said Lieutenant Torres, her communications officer. He was young, too young to remember the wars that had this ship. "We have received a response from the Galactic Concord." Did not turn around, read it. Torres cleared his throat. The words clearly made him uncomfortable. Human territory lies outside protected space per the amended Sovereignty Acts. No intervention is authorized. The Concord wishes humanity well in this difficult time. The bridge went silent. Everyone knew what those words meant. No help was coming. Finally turned to face her crew. There were only 12 people on the bridge. The ship was designed for 30. They did not have enough crew for a ship this size. They did not have enough supplies. They did not have enough of anything. "How many ships?" she asked. 90 confirmed, said Tactical Officer. He was an older man with scars on his hands from years of fixing broken systems. Maybe more coming. 90 ships. The Prometheus was one ship, one old, tired, broken ship that the human fleet had thrown away decades ago. The math was simple. The math was death. "The Concord," Torres said quietly. "We saved them during the Nexus Wars, during the Pale Tide. Humans died for them. How can they just—" "Because that is what they do," said. Her voice was not angry. She had used up all her anger years ago. Now there was only cold understanding. "They signed treaties with us when they needed our soldiers. They broke those treaties when they no longer did. This is not new. This is how it has always been." She walked across the bridge, her boots clicking on the metal floor. Her hand touched the wall where an energy blade had cut through during a battle 15 years ago. The metal was rough under her fingers. The ship remembered everything. "I am going to New Harbin," said. "I am going to fight the—" No one spoke at first, then laughed. It was not a happy sound. "Commander, that is suicide. We cannot win against 90 ships." "I know." "Then why?" Looked at him, really looked at him. This man had served with her for 20 years. He had lost his family when the outer colonies fell. He had nowhere else to go but this ship. "Because someone has to answer," she said. 14 million people are looking at the sky right now. They are waiting to see if anyone cares enough to come. The Concord will not come. Earth cannot send ships in time. There is only us. One old ship with an old crew, but we are still here. We can still fight." "We will die," said. "Yes, probably, but those people will know that someone tried. Someone came. Someone thought they were worth dying for." She paused. "Is that not worth something?" The bridge was quiet again. Could hear the ship around her. The hum of old engines. The whisper of recycled air. The sound she had lived with for so long. Doctor spoke from her station near the back. She was the ship's medical officer, a woman who had seen too much death and kept working anyway. "I did not join this crew to live forever," she said. "I joined because someone had to take care of the people no one else wanted. Those colonists on New Harbin are our people. I say we go." One by one the others nodded. Tors, Navigator, all of them felt something she had not felt in years, pride, not in herself, in them. "Set course for New Harbin," she ordered. "Maximum speed. Push the engines as hard as they can go." "The engines are old," warned. "They might not survive the trip." "Then they will die doing their job, same as us." The Prometheus Unbroken turned in the darkness of space. Its old engines fired with a sound like thunder. The ship had been thrown away by everyone. The conquered had forgotten it. The human fleet had abandoned it, but it was still here, still moving, still fighting. Sat down in her command chair. The leather was cracked and worn. She fit into it perfectly. She and this ship had grown old together. On the wall beside her there was a list of names, crew members who had died on this ship over the years. There were hundreds of them. Each name was a story. Each name was a sacrifice. Soon there might be more names on that wall, maybe all of them. She touched the list gently. "We are coming," she whispered to the dead. "One more time, one more fight." The stars stretched as the ship jumped toward New Harbin. No help was coming from the galaxy. No allies would stand with them. No treaties would protect them. But humanity would answer its own. The Prometheus Unbroken flew toward the enemy. Its hull was by forgotten wars and broken treaties. Its crew was small and tired and afraid. But they were going anyway. Because that is what humans do. The journey to New Harbin would take 14 hours. 14 hours for a crew to prepare for a battle they could not win. 14 hours to say goodbye to everything they knew. Chief Engineer worked in the engine room. He was a big man with gentle hands and a face that had seen too many funerals. The engines around him were old, older than some of the crew. They made sounds that no engine should make, groaning, clicking, whispering like tired old men. But they still worked, made sure of that. He walked through the lower decks, checking every system, touching every wall. The ship spoke to him in ways it did not speak to others. He knew every scar on her body. He knew every patch and repair and desperate fix that kept her flying. There was a door on Deck 7 that still had handprints on it. 17 handprints, burned into the metal. 15 years ago, a boarding party had breached the ship. They had cut through the hull and poured inside like water through a crack. 17 crew members had held that door shut while poison gas filled the corridor behind it. They had held it with their bare hands against the heat of enemy weapons. They had held it until they died. The door had not opened. The rest of the crew had survived. Touched each handprint as he passed. He knew their names. Everyone on the ship knew their names. They were written on the wall beside the door. "We are going to fight again," he told them quietly. "Wish us luck." He continued walking. In the weapons bay, Gunnery Sergeant prepared the guns. She was a tall woman with short hair and eyes that never seemed to blink. Her hands moved quickly over the control panels, checking power levels and targeting systems. The rail cannons were old. They had been old when was born. They had been rebuilt so many times that almost none of the original parts remained. The barrels were made from shell material, taken from dead enemy ships. The power cells came from a conquered station that had been abandoned during the Pale Tide. The targeting computer was human-made, built by engineers who refused to let the weapons die. "These should not work," said Private. He was young and nervous. This would be his first real battle. "Human weapons do not care about should," replied. "They only care about must, and these guns must work, so they will." She did not tell him about the times the guns had failed, about the battles where nothing worked and people died screaming. He did not need to know that, not yet. "Have you ever fought the private asked. "Once, a long time ago. They killed my sister." "I am sorry." Loaded a power cell into the cannon. The weapon hummed with energy. "Do not be sorry, be ready. That is the only thing that helps." On the medical deck, Doctor prepared for casualties. Her supplies were low. They were always low. The Conquered had stopped trading medical equipment to human ships years ago. She had learned to make do with less. The beds in her medical bay were empty now. Soon they would be full. Some patients she would save, some she would lose. That was the math of war. You saved who you could and carried the rest with you forever. On the wall of her office there was a photograph. It showed the original crew of the Prometheus Unbroken, taken on the day the ship first launched. 200 smiling faces, young and bright and full of hope. Most of them were dead now, killed in battles that the galaxy had forgotten, sacrificed for treaties that meant nothing. Doctor looked at the photograph every day. It reminded her why she kept working. Those people had believed in something. They had believed that humanity mattered, that their lives meant something, that their deaths would not be forgotten. She would not let them be wrong. The ship shook slightly as Commander's voice came through the speakers. Her words were calm and clear. All crew, we will arrive at New Harbin in 12 hours. I want to tell you what we are facing. They have 90 ships. We have one. The Conquered has refused to help. Earth cannot reach us in time. No help is coming. The words hung in the air. Everyone on the ship heard them. Everyone understood. I am not going to lie to you, the commander continued. We will probably die. This ship is old. We are few. The enemy is many. The math says we cannot win. In the engine room, stopped working and listened. But I have learned something in my years on this ship. Math does not understand humans. It cannot count our stubbornness. It cannot measure our spite. It does not know that we will fight harder when we are losing than when we are winning. In the weapons bay smiled. On New Harbin, 14 million people are waiting. They are our people. They are looking at the sky and hoping that someone will come. Someone will answer. I intend to be that answer. Not because we will win, but because giving up is not something humans do. In the medical bay, Doctor put down her instruments and closed her eyes. Anyone who wishes to leave may take an escape pod. There will be no shame in it. No record. I will not think less of you, but I am staying. I am going to fight. And when they see this old ship coming for them, I want them to understand something. Humanity is not finished. Humanity will never be finished. We will fight until the last star goes dark. The message ended. The crew went back to work. No one went to the escape pods. Not one person. They were afraid. Of course they were afraid. Only fools felt no fear before battle, but they were also something else. They were proud. The Prometheus Unbroken continued toward New Harbin. Its hull was, and its engines were tired, and its crew was small. But inside that old ship, something burned. Something that had never gone out no matter how many times the galaxy tried to kill it. Hope. Not hope that they would survive. Hope that their deaths would mean something. Hope that the people on New Harbin would look up and see them fighting and know that they were not alone. That someone had come. That humanity still answered when its children called. The scars on the hull were not wounds. They were promises. Every burn mark was a battle survived. Every patch was a crew that had refused to die. Every repaired system was proof that this ship would not give up. And neither would the people inside it. 12 hours to New Harbin. 12 hours until the battle began. The crew of the Prometheus Unbroken spent those hours working, preparing, remembering. They were ready. The Prometheus Unbroken dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Harbin system. What Commander saw made her heart go cold. The swarm was already there. 93 ships hung in the darkness between the stars and the colony world. They were ugly things. Their hulls looked like insect shells, dark and curved and covered with strange growths. They moved together like a single creature, turning and adjusting without any visible signals between them. One mind controlling many bodies. The colony of New Harbin floated behind them, a blue and green world that looked like Earth. Clouds swirled over its surface. City lights glittered on the dark side. 14 million people were down there, looking up at the sky, watching death come for them. "They have seen us," Lieutenant Torres reported. His voice was tight with fear. "Ships are scanning us." "Let them look," said. "Show them what is coming." On the command ship, the swarm mind processed the information. One human vessel, old design, heavy damage to hull, crew of approximately 150, no threat assessment required. The human ship was beneath notice. This was their first mistake. "Take us in," ordered, straight at them, full speed. Navigator hesitated for just a moment. The order went against every rule of space combat. You did not charge directly at a superior force. You used distance. You used maneuvers. You used your brain. But had served with for 15 years. He trusted her. "Full speed," he confirmed, straight at them. The Prometheus leaped forward. Its old engine screamed with effort. The ship shook and groaned as it pushed harder than it should. In the engine room, Chief Engineer watched the power readings climb into the red zone. The reactors were running too hot. The cooling systems could not keep up, but he did not slow down. He pushed harder. "Come on, old girl," he whispered to the ship. "One more time. Give me everything you have." The ship answered. Somehow, impossibly, the engines held. The swarm watched the human vessel approach. Their collective mind felt something like confusion. Why was the ship attacking? It could not win. The math was clear, 93 against 1. The human vessel would be destroyed in seconds. And yet it came anyway. Commander studied the enemy formation. She had spent 30 years learning how they fought. She knew their patterns. She knew their weaknesses. Most importantly, she knew their arrogance. "They think we are nothing," she said to her crew. "They think one old ship is not worth their attention. Good, let them think that." The distance closed, 1 million kilometers, 500,000, 100,000. "Weapons range in 30 seconds, reported from the gun deck. "Wait for my order," said. "Let them get comfortable, let them forget about us." The ships did not raise their shields. They did not charge their weapons. Why would they? The human vessel was a bug flying toward a fire. It would burn itself without any help. "Weapons range," said. "Target the command carrier," ordered. "Fire everything." The rail cannons roared. Massive metal slugs, accelerated to a fraction of light speed, slammed into the command ship. The alien vessel had no shields raised, no defenses ready. The shots punched through its hull like needles through paper. The command ship broke apart. For a moment the entire swarm froze. Their collective mind had been disrupted. The death of the command ship had sent shock waves through their shared consciousness. They had not expected this. They had not prepared for this. "Use that moment. Take us through them," she ordered. "Stay close to their ships, too close for their heavy weapons." The Prometheus dove into the heart of the fleet. It was suicide. It was madness. It was exactly what they did not expect. Human ships were supposed to fight at distance. They were supposed to be careful and logical and afraid. They were not supposed to charge into the middle of an enemy fleet like a wolf among sheep. But was not trying to survive. She was trying to hurt them. And at close range, the old Prometheus could hurt them very much. The rail cannons fired again and again. Each shot found a target. Ships exploded or broke apart or drifted dead in space. The humans were faster than they expected, more accurate, more vicious. 3 kills, called out, 4, 5. But they were not helpless. Their confusion lasted only seconds. Then the swarm mind recovered. It reorganized. It fought back. Energy weapons lit up the darkness. The Prometheus shook as blasts hit its hull. Armor melted. Systems failed. Crew members died at their stations. "Hull breach on Deck 4, Torres reported. "Fire on Deck 7. We have lost the port sensor array." "Keep fighting," ordered. "Do not stop, do not slow down." The ship dove and twisted through the enemy fleet. It was taking damage with every second. but it was also dealing damage. Every minute the battle continued was another minute that were not attacking New Harbin. Every ship that died was one fewer enemy for the colony to face. Had known from the beginning that she could not win, but she could buy time. She could make the pay for every inch of space. She could teach them that humans did not die easily. Incoming missiles warned, too many to count. Point defense, shoot down what you can. The ship's defensive guns opened fire. Missiles exploded in bright flashes, but there were too many. Some got through. The Prometheus rocked with impacts. In the engine room, a coolant line burst. Threw himself on it, using his body to seal the leak while his hands found tools to fix it. The heat burned his skin. He did not let go. On the gun deck, a power surge killed 3 of his gunners. She stepped over their bodies and kept firing. There would be time to mourn later, if there was a later. On the bridge, a console exploded next to Lieutenant Torres. He fell, his arm burned and bleeding. Doctor was there in seconds, pulling him to safety, treating his wounds while the battle raged around her. Through it all, Commander sat in her chair and gave orders. Her voice never wavered. Her eyes never looked away from the enemy. Below them, on the surface of New Harbin, 14 million people watched. They could see the flashes of weapons in the sky. They could see one tiny light dancing among many larger ones. They did not know who was in that ship. They did not know the names of the crew, but they understood what they were seeing. Someone had come. Someone was fighting for them. Someone thought they were worth dying for. And in that moment, even though the battle was far from over, even though victory seemed impossible, the people of New Harbin felt something they had not felt in days. They felt hope. The Prometheus Unbroken was burning, its crew was dying, its hull was failing. But it was still fighting. Because that is what humans do. 3 hours. The battle had been going for 3 hours. The Prometheus Unbroken was dying. Everyone could see it. Half the ship was on fire. The port engine was completely gone, ripped away by a plasma torpedo. The starboard hull had holes so large you could fly a shuttle through them. Emergency were the only thing keeping the atmosphere inside. But the ship was still fighting. Commander looked at the tactical display. 11 ships destroyed, 8 more badly damaged and drifting dead. For one old human ship against a fleet of 93, that was impossible. That was a miracle. But miracles cost something, and the Prometheus had paid in blood. Of the 142 crew members who had started the battle, only 61 remained alive. The rest were dead at their stations or lost to space when the hull breached. Their bodies floated in the darkness between the stars, surrounded by the wreckage of the enemies they had killed. In the engine room, Chief Engineer was fighting his own battle. A plasma conduit had cracked. Superheated gas was pouring out, filling the compartment with deadly fire. If the conduit broke completely, the engines would fail. The ship would stop, and then they would finish them. Could have sealed the compartment and saved himself. The automated systems would have done it for him, but that would have meant losing the engines. That would have meant giving up. Humans did not give up. He grabbed the cracked conduit with his bare hands. The heat was unbelievable. His skin burned, his flesh cooked, but he held on. His hands found the seal. His fingers, blackened and ruined, pressed it into place. The leak stopped. Fell to the deck. His hands were destroyed. His body was failing, but he was smiling. 6 more minutes, he whispered to the ship. I gave you 6 more minutes. Use them well. He did not get up again. On the gun deck, Gunnery Sergeant had problems of her own. A torpedo had hit her section, blowing a hole in the wall and killing half her team. She was bleeding from a wound in her side. Her left arm was broken, but her right arm still worked, and that was enough. Target the carrier, she said to the remaining gunners. The big one with the spines. The command carrier was the largest ship in the enemy fleet. It was the new command vessel, the one that had taken control after destroyed the first one. If they could kill it too, the swarm would be disrupted again. "We do not have enough power," Private said. The young man was covered in soot and blood. He had grown up a lot in 3 hours. "Then we fire manually," pulled herself to the main gun controls. Every movement sent waves of pain through her body. She ignored them. Pain was just information. It told you that you were still alive. "On my mark." She lined up the shot. The targeting computer was dead, so she used her eyes. 30 years of experience guided her hands. She knew how these guns worked. She knew how ships moved. She knew exactly where to hit them. "Fire." The rail cannon spoke one last time. The metal slug crossed the distance in less than a second. It hit the command carrier in its central mass, right where the swarm mind connected to its body. The carrier exploded. Smiled, "That was for my sister." Then the wall behind her collapsed. An energy beam had punched through from outside. The gun deck opened to space, and her remaining team were pulled out into the void. She died with her eyes open, watching the enemy carrier burn. On the medical deck, Doctor was overwhelmed. Wounded crew filled every bed, every corner, every piece of floor. She moved from patient to patient, doing what she could, knowing it was not enough. She had run out of painkillers an hour ago. She had run out of bandages 30 minutes after that. Now she was using torn uniforms and willpower. A beam hit the medical bay. The ceiling collapsed, threw herself over her patients, shielding them with her body. Metal and fire fell on her back. She screamed in pain but did not move. When the collapse stopped, she pulled herself up and kept working. Her back was burned. Her legs could barely hold her. But there were still people who needed help, so she helped them. On the bridge, Commander watched her ship die around her. Warning lights flashed everywhere. Damage reports came in faster than she could process them. She had blood running down her face from a head wound, but she had not taken time to treat it. "Commander," Navigator said. His voice was weak. A piece of metal was stuck in his chest. "The fleet, something is happening." Looked at the tactical display. The ships were moving away, not all of them, but many. They were breaking formation. They were leaving. "What is happening?" she asked. Lieutenant Torres, his arm wrapped in bloody bandages, worked his console with one hand. "I am reading confusion in their communications. The swarm mind is fracturing. They have lost 2 command carriers. They do not know who is in charge." They did not understand what was happening to them. Their collective mind had been disrupted twice. Thousands of soldiers had died. Their fleet had lost 13 ships to a single enemy vessel. This was not how battles were supposed to go. This was not how prey was supposed to act. And for the first time in their long history of conquest, they felt something new. Fear. They had crushed 42 species. They had consumed worlds without number. No one had ever fought them like this. No one had ever hurt them like this. No one had ever refused to die like this. The human ship was broken. It was burning. It was falling apart. But it would not stop fighting. Every time they thought it was finished, it struck again. Every time they moved to destroy it, it killed more of them. The swarm mind made a decision. This prey was not worth the cost. This system was not worth the losses. There were other worlds, easier worlds, worlds where the inhabitants knew how to die properly. "Commander," Torres said, his voice filled with disbelief. "The fleet is retreating. They are jumping to faster than light. They are leaving the system." Watched the enemy ships vanish one by one. 93 ships had come to destroy New Harbin. 80 of them were running away. She should have felt joy. She should have felt triumph. Instead, she felt only a deep, tired sadness. So many of her crew were dead, so much had been lost. But the colony was safe. 14 million people would live. That was enough. "Open a channel to New Harbin," she said. "Channel open." Spoke slowly. Every word was an effort. "This is Commander of the UES Prometheus Unbroken. The fleet has withdrawn. Your world is safe. We will remain in orbit as long as we can." She paused. What else was there to say? No help was coming, so we came ourselves. That is what humans do. She closed the channel. Around her, the survivors of her crew sat in silence. They had done the impossible. They had saved a world. They had taught them to fear humanity. And they had paid for it with everything they had. The Prometheus unbroken drifted in space, its engines finally silent, its hull open to the stars. But its flag still flew. The UES Prometheus unbroken would never fly again. Everyone knew it. The engines were dead. The hull was broken beyond repair. Most of the systems had failed. The ship had given everything it had. It settled into orbit around New Harbin like a tired old soldier finding a place to rest. The colony's rescue ships came up to help. They brought supplies and medical teams and engineers, but there was nothing they could do for the ship itself. The Prometheus had fought its last battle. Commander stood at a viewport and watched the planet below. Blue oceans, green forests, white clouds, a living world, a saved world. 47 crew members had survived the battle, 47 out of 142. The others had given their lives so that 14 million strangers could keep theirs. It was not a fair trade. Nothing about war was fair, but it was the trade they had made and would honor it for the rest of her life. News of the battle spread fast. Faster than light, faster than ships, faster than anyone expected. Within days, every human world knew what had happened at New Harbin. Within weeks, every species in the galaxy had heard the story. One old ship, one forgotten ship, a ship that the human fleet had thrown away like garbage. It had faced an armada and won, not through superior numbers, not through advanced technology, not through allies or treaties or the help of the great galactic Concord. Through stubbornness, through sacrifice, through the simple refusal to accept that some fights cannot be won. The Concord sent a diplomatic vessel 3 days after the battle. It was a beautiful ship, clean and new, without a single scar on its hull. It carried Ambassador, a senior member of the Concord Council. He came to discuss renewed relations between humanity and the Concord. Commander met him at the airlock. Her arm was in a sling. Half her face was covered in bandages. She looked like she had walked through fire, because she had. "Commander," the ambassador said. His voice was smooth and practiced. "On behalf of the Galactic Concord, I wish to express our admiration for your victory. It was most impressive. We believe this opens new opportunities for cooperation between our peoples." Looked at him, she did not speak. "The Concord would like to offer humanity a new treaty," continued. "Full membership in the protected zones, access to our technology, military support in times of crisis. All we ask in return is—" "No," said. The ambassador blinked. "I am sorry." "No, the answer is no." "But you have not heard our offer." "I do not need to hear it," gestured to the hull behind her. The ambassador looked and saw the scars, burn marks, impact craters, patches of alien metal. Each one was a story, each one was a betrayal. "Do you see these marks?" asked. "Each one came from a battle where humanity stood alone. That one is from the breach, when your Concord refused to send reinforcements. That one is from the Cinder Gate, when your treaties said our colony was outside protected space. That one is from the day my home world died, while Concord ships watched from a safe distance." She turned back to face the ambassador. Her eyes were hard as stone. "Humanity asked for help. Again and again we asked. We fought your wars. We bled for your causes. We saved your worlds when the pale tide came. And when we needed you, when our people were dying, you did nothing." "Circumstances were complicated," said. "There were political considerations. 14 million people were going to die. That was not complicated. That was simple. And you chose to let them die." Stepped closer to the ambassador. She was a small woman, old and wounded. He was tall and strong and backed by the power of a galactic civilization, but he was the one who stepped back. The conquered teaches that some species are worth protecting and some are not, said. That treaties matter more than lives. That math decides who deserves to survive. She shook her head. Humanity learned a different lesson. We learned that the only help we can count on is our own. We learned that treaties written by cowards are worthless. We learned that when no one else will fight for you, you fight for yourself. She pointed to the ship around them, to the broken hull, to the dead engines, to the bloodstains that still marked the decks. This ship came here to die, we knew that. We came anyway, because those 14 million people were our people and we do not abandon our own, not for treaties, not for politics, not for any reason at all. The ambassador tried to speak, did not let him. Go back to your conquered. Tell them humanity does not need their protection. Tell them we will build our own ships, fight our own battles, save our own worlds. Tell them that the next time they see a human vessel, they should remember this one. They should remember what we did here, and they should know that we will do it again, as many times as necessary. She turned and walked back into her ship. The ambassador called after her, making promises, offering rewards. She did not look back. The conquered vessel left New Harbin the next day. It was the last time the conquered ever sent a ship to human space. On the surface of New Harbin, the people built a monument. They placed it on a hill overlooking the colony's main city, where everyone could see it. The monument was made from a piece of the Prometheus Unbroken's hull, a blackened piece of metal that had been to war and back. Under it they carved simple words. No help was coming, they came anyway. Millions of people visited that monument in the years that followed. They touched the metal, they read the words, they remembered. And across human space something changed. The fear and despair that had gripped humanity for so long began to fade. In its place came something new: pride, determination, hope. If one old ship could save a world, what could a fleet do? If 142 people could defeat an armada, what could a billion do? Shipyards that had been silent for years roared back to life. Engineers and workers came from every human colony to build new vessels, not for the conquered, not for alien allies who would never come, for humanity itself. They called the new ships the Prometheus class. They were bigger than the original, stronger, better armed, but they shared one feature with their ancestor. Their hulls were designed to bear scars proudly. Because humanity had learned something in the darkness between the stars. Scars were not weaknesses. They were proof of survival. They were stories of battles fought and won. They were promises that no matter how bad things got, no matter how alone they were, humans would never give up. Commander retired after the Battle of New Harbin. She settled on the colony she had saved, in a small house on a hill not far from the monument. Sometimes children came to visit her. They asked her to tell them about the battle, about the ship, about the crew who had given their lives. She always told them. And she always ended with the same words. No help was coming. There never is. So we learned to help ourselves. We learned to answer our own calls. We learned that humanity's greatest strength is not our ships or our weapons or our technology. She would look at the children with her tired old eyes, and she would smile. Our greatest strength is each other. Never forget that. Never forget that when the galaxy abandoned us, we found something better. We found ourselves. The children would nod, their eyes wide with wonder. And somewhere in orbit, the wreck of the Prometheus Unbroken still floated. Silent now, empty now, but never forgotten. Its hull was by forgotten wars and broken treaties. But those scars told a story. The story of a species that would not die. The story of humanity.